All right, meeting is now streaming live on Facebook.
That is super exciting. I'm trying to figure out how to make sure that Emma can see this.
Um, let's see. All right, Girl Scouts of New Mexico Trails is live now.
Oh my gosh. There we are.
Yay! I know it's always so, that like, I feel like it's with the space shuttle, the countdown, 10, 9, we're streaming live. And
yeah, Emma, if you change your mind and you'd like to join us, that's okay.
Okay, so we are live with Girl Scouts of New Mexico Trails. My name is Rebecca Latham. I'm the CEO of Girl Scouts of New Mexico Trails, and I am joined by my very distinguished guest and dear friend, Dr. Joanna Fair. Good morning.
Good morning.
Would you prefer we call you Dr. Fair, or is Joanna okay?
Joanna's fine.
Joanna's fine. Great. Well, I may slip into and call you Miss Joanna every once
in a while.
Totally
fine too.
Joanna and I are dear friends because we have had the pleasure of working together to lead a troop of brownies and juniors, which is now going to expand in the future to a bigger troop with more girls. We're excited. I'm thrilled for Joanna as she's taking on this new adventure and getting more parents involved in leading the troop and being great volunteers for Girl Scouts of New Mexico Trails. If you are joining us this morning, please help us out by starting just in the comment section, girls. What's your name and what grade you're in? We're going to give everybody a few minutes to get us to join us, because we know with Facebook Live it's always kind of like it just takes a minute. And let's see what else. So Joanna is joined kind of in the wings by her junior Girl Scout, who may or may not join us.
She is watching on Facebook Live. I don't know if she will make an appearance on Zoom.
Great. Well, Emma, that's your choice. And we're just glad you're here. My Brownie Girl Scout has opted to not join us because she's been pretty wiggly in the past activities we've been doing. So she is going to hang out inside. Let's see. Again, if you're just joining us, please start by giving us your name and grade in the comments. So we've got Charlotte is here from 5th grade. We've got Jenny, 4th. Casey is going into 6th. Jordan, let's see, Magnolia's here. Tiger Lily, thank you for joining us again. Caitlin and Shiloh are here. Also Holly, Avani, Avery. Let's see, Embry's here, Elise is here. We've got a great group of Girl Scouts joining us this morning. We are, again, going to do we're working on Brownie and Junior First Aid. And for those of you who are already Girl Scouts, you're kind of familiar with how this works. We have these activity books. These are our activity books for both the Brownie and Junior First Aid badge. Each badge has about five steps. Lots of girls joining now. Hi, Lena, Hannah, Zendaya, Reina. Wow, Ziva. Everybody's coming in this morning. This is so exciting. Each badge has about 5 steps. And luckily for us, with first aid specifically, the Brownie and the Junior First Aid badge, the first 3 steps are very similar. So, so we'll be able to knock those out. Girls, if you're really, if you're into this, if you're into what you learned today from Joanna and about helping people and first responders and being a healthcare professional, then I want to encourage you to finish your steps here, either from the Brownie or the Junior First Aid badge. Your parent can find this online if you're a Girl Scout, or you can always reach out to your troop leader who can help you get the rest of the badge work done. And then once you've completed it, we at La Tienda at Girl Scouts of New Mexico Trails are happy to help you get that badge. So again, my name is Rebecca. Dr. Joanna Fair is our special guest today, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Hi, Olivia. Hello, everybody. Good morning. So let's start again. How we always like to start, just with the Girl Scout promise. So is everybody ready to join us with the Girl Scout promise? Here we go.
It is always backwards.
I know.
It looks backwards on the screen. It's okay.
Here we go. On my honor, I will try to serve God and my country, to help people at all times, and live by the Girl Scout law.
Girl Scout law.
Okay, so keeping those things in mind, girls. Good morning. Oh, Molly's here, and it looks like Lila is joining us. Victoria, good to see all you guys. So girls, how about we start out? You guys use the chat as you've been doing to check in. Why don't you think about the Girl Scout promise that we just did? When we learn about first aid, what is a part of the Girl Scout promise that we're really working on, that we're living up to by learning about first aid? Do you want to go ahead and just type it into the comments here? There's, we, of course, as Girl Scouts, we have the Girl Scout promise and the Girl Scout law, and we'll get to the law in a second, but just specifically with the Girl Scout promise, what are we living up to when we're learning about first aid? Good morning, Adriana. Hey, Lila. So go ahead and just type in to help people. Good job. Help people at all times. And who else thinks that? Being able to help others. Thank you, Molly. Helping others. Very good. And that's so important for who we are as Girl Scouts, to help others. Hey, Adriana. Why don't you think about, with the Girl Scout law, does anybody have any thoughts about which parts of the Girl Scout law that learning about first aid is really living up to? Helping others at all time. Very good. Thank you. I see Emma's checking in. Help people at all times. Hi, Beatrice. What part of the Girl Scout law, if you think about the Girl Scout law, and if you're not a Girl Scout, that's okay too. We're really happy you're here. And you are, if you like what we're doing here today, then we'd love to have you become a Girl Scout, and you can learn more about it. Have your parent or guardian check out Girl Scouts at nmgirlscouts.org, and we'd love to get you plugged into a troop. Lila says safety, that's right, being kind. Joanna, what do you think, with the Girl Scout law, what are we living up to by learning about first aid?
I think there's a lot of parts of it that really make sense when it comes to first aid. Certainly making the world a better place, and definitely being friendly and helpful when you're thinking about people who are hurt and you're trying to help them. So those, I think, are the big parts of the Girl Scout law that we're learning about when we're learning first aid.
Very true. Friendly and helpful is one of the comments that's been made. Being nice, being prepared, helping others, being kind, helping people at all times. Again, part of the Girl Scout promise. So this is so great to have so many girls talking to us about, why this is important and why they're tuning in to learn about first aid. So as we talked about, considerate and caring, very good. As we talked about, we're going to be going through the first 3 steps of the Brownie and the Junior First Aid badges. There are 5 steps. So after we finish today, then you can either talk to your troop leader or your parent about completing the last 2 steps and getting that incredible badge. We're going to start with a Q&A with Joanna, working through part of this badge work. Girls, if you have questions for Joanna at any time, feel free to type them into the comments, and I'm monitoring them, and so I can just ask right away if you think about a question. So first, Joanna, start out by telling us about yourself.
Sure. So I live here in New Mexico and am a Girl Scout troop leader, as Miss Rebecca mentioned. But I have another job, and that is that I'm a doctor. And to be a doctor, it was a long haul. It's a lot of school, but it was fun the whole way. So I went to undergraduate, and then I went to graduate school in chemistry, and that was actually super fun. But I really wanted to do something where I could apply science to people and think about using my science brain to take care of people directly. And so then I went to medical school, and that was 4 years of a lot of learning and incredible teachers and people that I worked with during that time. And then I was a doctor, but then it's more training. So after that, I spent 5 years becoming a radiologist, which is the kind of doctor that I am. And then another year training in nuclear medicine. So now I do nuclear medicine and radiology here in Albuquerque. And I also get to help teach and train the next generation of doctors as well.
Oh, that's so exciting. And I am so grateful that with all of that, with you being, with you being so busy with your actual job, that you still give your time and talents to Girl Scouts, and that you're a troop leader, and that you are helping raise future leaders here in New Mexico and in the world.
It is one of my very favorite things to do. And it gives me a break from my day-to-day job to get to come and to work with the girls in the troop and to see them grow and learn and really become leaders.
Fantastic. Well, one question that came in, and so we'll try and maybe double this up. We have a question about when you first joined Girl Scouts, and I'm going to go ahead and couple that with my other question too, about like, when did you first know you wanted to become a doctor?
So I first joined Girl Scouts it was kindergarten or first grade. I don't remember. It's been a while now. But I was a Brownie and junior and cadet in Huntsville, Texas, my hometown. I had two amazing troop leaders, Mrs. Thompson and Mrs. Conan, who led us all throughout that time. I formed really good friendships with the girls in my troop. I still keep in touch with a lot of them. And we learned about camping and being outdoors, about being prepared, about being friends and good to other people, about taking care of the environment and taking care of each other. And I think the leadership skills that I learned in Girl Scouts really encouraged me to think about what I wanted to do with my life. And that really, I think, fit well into going into medicine and to being a leader in medicine right now, as I am. And certainly thinking about making the world a better place, which is what we thought about all the time in Girl Scouts, and what we tried to live, is really a part of what I do right now.
I love that you're able to share with girls who are scouting now. Oh, Davina's here. Hi, guys. I love that you're able to share with girls who are watching that being a Girl Scout as a girl helped you prepare for your role as a doctor and an educator now.
Absolutely. I think we learn so much about cooperation and teamwork, and that's really what a lot of medicine is about. I don't just work by myself every day as a doctor. As a radiologist, I work with technologists every day who are taking the images, acquiring the images that I might use as part of diagnosing people. We work with nurses, we work with pharmacists. There are technicians in the emergency department that are taking care of patients, respiratory therapists, front desk staff who are checking in patients and being kind to them and helping them figure out where to go. Environmental services who help to keep our hospital clean, which is so important for the safety of our patients and our providers. It's really just an amazing team. And I think of Girl Scouts as really leadership and teamwork training that has really helped carry me through to my work today.
Great. Well, and so a question just came in again, and I think you might have covered this, but how long have you been a doctor?
Let's see, I graduated from medical school in 2003, so 17 years. But then I did 6 years of training after that to be a radiologist and nuclear medicine physician. So I first became an attending physician, so that's a supervising physician, about 11 years ago. And so that's when I became an independent doctor and could practice sort of on my own. And I've been teaching ever since then. I teach residents and fellows and medical students medicine and radiology and nuclear medicine. And so that's how I continue to give back to the medical field. I also work with technology students. So there are people who are training to become radiology technologists or nuclear medicine technologists, and I work with them as well.
Wonderful. So some other questions that are coming in. And again, if you have any questions for Joanna, you can type them in the comments. We have a couple more questions and then we're going to get into the next steps of the badge. And that's where Joanna is going to lead us through one of the steps, which is what to do in an emergency. And this is going to be one where she's going to play. We have kind of like a game where she's going to walk you through some stuff, and then you'll be able to type into the comments. And then we're going to get into making our own first aid kits. So if you don't have any of this stuff for first aid kits, that's totally fine. You might want to bring a pen and paper so you can write it down and make one later. If you do have some stuff, I think a lot of the things that we're going to go over today, you might be able to find in your house. So we'll get to those in just a few minutes. We do want to talk about, first aid and first responders, and we've gotten some other questions. One, what is nuclear medicine? And two, it's not a question, just a lot of girls are commenting that they want to be doctors, or someone commented that they want to be a firefighter. We've had some girls comment that they want to go into veterinary medicine. So, and if you're just joining us, I'm Rebecca Latham. I'm the CEO of Girl Scouts New Mexico Trails. Dr. Joanna Fair is a troop leader for Girl Scouts and is also a medical professional. And so that's why we're talking to her today as our second step for the Brownie and Junior First Aid Badge. So back to nuclear medicine.
So nuclear medicine is where we use tiny amounts of radiation that people either swallow or they take in a vein. And it enables us to image them, different parts of their body, and what's working and what's not working. So I do cancer imaging. I look at the heart and figure out whether or not the heart is working, the kidneys, all sorts of different organs. And so it's kind of like doing radiology, where you have x-rays from the outside going through someone to figure out what's going on inside. But this is sort of like taking that inside and seeing what's going on inside of folks. And so nuclear medicine is kind of a part of radiology. It's really a diagnostic specialty where we figure out what's going on with people. It's also a specialty where we do treatments. And so I treat people who have problems with their thyroid, and I treat folks with a couple of different kinds of cancer. And so nuclear medicine is both for diagnosing illness and also for treating illness as well. So that's nuclear medicine. There were some other questions too.
Well, I see how, does your job currently, how are you being impacted by COVID-19?
That's a good question. I think for the diagnostic part, we scaled back a fair amount for several months while everything was really busy with COVID, where we were doing mostly kind of emergency cases and things that really needed to be done sort of right away. Now we're in the process of ramping back up again. And since a lot of what I do is cancer imaging, cancer patients still need to be taken care of, throughout something like this. And so what we do is we make sure that everyone is safe while we're doing that kind of care, from our doctors to especially our technologists who are working directly with the patients. They are, wearing all of the appropriate protective gear, masks, and all of that kind of stuff as need be. So everything's kind of come and gone a little bit, but we're doing everything that we can at our hospital to make sure that we're taking care of patients, and that both our patients and our doctors and nurses, technologists, all of our staff are safe.
Wonderful. That's got to be so important. Other questions are coming through about really getting into your work as a doctor and surgery, but I think let's try to stay on focus. And then if everybody wants to, we can. What is a thyroid? We can. I'll tell you what. Girls, these are awesome questions, and
these are great questions.
Asking. We should set up something separately that's just kind of like ask a doctor, and we can revisit another time with Dr. Fair about really going into her job as a radiologist, and again as an instructor and an educational professional who helps train other doctors. But getting us back into the Brownie and Junior First Aid Badge. And if you're just joining us, we will have this entire video live or recorded again later on our Facebook page. So if we mention something and you want to see, if you missed it earlier, you'll be able to go back and watch it. But you did mention, we talked about other types of medical professionals that you work with, and how how there's so many different jobs that relate to healthcare. Because we're doing first aid, let's talk about first responders and what is a first responder.
Sure. So first responders are really a variety of people who have special training to be really the first people on the scene when someone is hurt or injured, or there's been an accident or a fire or whatever the case may be. They're the first ones there to help out. And so people who train as first responders might be a firefighter. So firefighters are oftentimes paramedics, and they are really specialists in what we call pre-hospital care. So taking care of people outside the hospital and on the way to the hospital when they need to go to the hospital. So someone who's a firefighter may also be a paramedic or an emergency medical technician. Oftentimes police officers might be trained as EMTs or emergency medical technicians. And their goal is to really be able to handle emergent situations as they happen and really either take care of people outside of the hospital or figure out when somebody needs to go to the hospital and even help with getting them there safely and taking care of them on the way there. So that's really what a first responder is. And a lot of different people can be first responders, like firefighters, like paramedics, paramedics, police officers, and other folks like that as well.
So what are types of emergencies that you think that girls might find themselves in where they would need the help of a first responder?
Well, we always hope that no one runs into an emergency, but throughout our life, oftentimes we will. You're out on a hike, or you are in your own home and you see something that's going on at a neighbor, or you are just out in the community, something happens. You can see that maybe somebody isn't feeling good and maybe they pass out, or you look down the street and you see that a neighbor's house is on fire, or you smell smoke and you're not sure what's going on, or you see an accident. And those are a chance for you to really think about how you can help. And a lot of what you can do, one of the biggest things that you can do to help is to call 911, which is one of the things that we're going to talk about today, trying to figure out when is the right time to call 911 and how to be safe when you're thinking about taking care of other people.
So, I mean, I think normally if we were going to be in a situation where we're calling 911, it's going to be pretty high stress, right?
Yeah, oftentimes it is, for sure. And one of the biggest things that you can do as a Girl Scout is being prepared and staying calm, right? Stay calm and go, gosh, this looks like a difficult situation. Maybe we need help. I'm going to be the one that can go and call 911. Sometimes in an emergency, people aren't thinking very clearly. They're scared and they don't know what to do. And the biggest thing that you can do is to keep a calm head and to think about, let's get help. Let's call 911.
Well, I think that's why it's so important for us to be doing this morning, to talk about how to be prepared in an emergency, because if we are not prepared when we're having to call 911, then we're not going to remember what the critical information is to give. What do we do? How can we help somebody in an emergency until a first responder arrives?
Well, there are several things that we can do. I think really one of the first things to think about is making sure that you are safe and that the circumstance is safe for you to be able to help. And we'll talk a little bit about that when we talk about check, call, care. And check is really making sure that the environment is safe for you, but assuming that it is safe. Sometimes if somebody is not feeling good, it's really important to make sure that they sit down or maybe even lay down so that they can be safe instead of having a potential to fall and be injured. So that's something that you can help with for sure if somebody is looking not safe. If you've got a situation where somebody gets injured, it may be that getting a grown-up who can help until a first responder can arrive is really important as well. And so part of it may be, going for help for somebody that is nearby. Sometimes you'll see things that are pretty minor, and so just helping to keep the person calm and making sure that they're doing okay, and then seeing what you can do to help is what you're able to do as well.
Well, let's go ahead and get into the second step then, which is check, call, care, and learning what to do in an emergency. So thank you so much to everybody who's joining us. I mean, it's so great. Joanna, the girls are all commenting, not only again with their ages and their grades, but also what they want to be when they grow up. And we see computer scientist and using data to help make the world a better place. And again, lots
I love
of girls,
data.
a lot of girls who are very interested in the medical professions. So there's also some dialogue about girls who would like to help people by being doctors, but that they're a little skeezed out by blood. But you mentioned earlier, there are a lot of different ways you can help and be in medicine and be helpful without necessarily having to deal with that.
Deal with blood, yes,
With
right.
blood.
There's
Right.
lots of different people who help in medicine who maybe aren't even doing direct patient care, who aren't necessarily seeing patients, but are part of this big support structure that we have to make sure that we can take care of patients. So there's lots of jobs that you can do where you can really help people in the medical field without necessarily dealing with blood. So, and you never know. You have to just try and see what works for you. But certainly data is really important. We have computer scientists who develop software that we can use to help take care of patients, to keep records. I work on a computer all day long, every day, where I'm looking at images, and somebody who is really smart developed the software that gets used to display the images that I look at so that I can do my job. And so what a cool job is that there are computer scientists that are building these systems where we can look at images and use them to take care of patients. So that's an amazing thing for someone to do with computer science that has to do with medicine.
Fantastic. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to you now. Let's get into the second step. So, girls, if you're tuning, if you're following along, we've just completed the first step of the Brownie and or one of the first steps of the Brownie and Junior first aid badges. Joanna is now going to walk us through what to do in an emergency. So, take it away, Doc.
Okay, so the first thing that we're going to talk about is if you see a situation, when is it time to kind of check and go, let me look at this situation and figure out if it's safe for me. Because if it's not safe for you to go in, then you don't want to go running in. You want to step back and instead say, it's time to go call 911. So there's a whole system for it. It's called check, call, care. And the first step is always check. So make sure that it's safe for you to be there before you go running in to help. So we're going to take a look at a couple of pictures to figure out when this first step happens, check, is it safe to go in? So you could type in the chat whether you think, yes, it's safe to go in, or no, it's not safe to go in. So this is my high-tech picture. There we go. Take a look and see if you think, yes, it's safe to go in, or no, it's not safe to go in.
Great. And we have a little bit of a delay. So why don't, again, girls, go ahead and type into the box. Let's see, we see someone says, no, it's not safe to go in. No, getting quite a few no's.
No, right.
Good. You are
so
correct.
Not safe to go in. So that's check. Don't go in. It's not safe. So here's another situation. Would you go running in here to try to help someone?
What do you think? Okay, it looks like they are starting to say no, nope, nope.
I see some thumbs down there, right? Exactly. Yep. Not job, safe girls. Because there's a flood. Okay, so then what about a situation like this? So you see somebody injured, he's kind of sitting up, but where is he?
So what do you think,
I know girls? There's a little bit of a lag.
Yep, thumbs up or
safe to run in here to help or not safe?
This feels like a trick question because I want to say yes, but
right, you want to help, but he's in the middle of the road and there's cars coming by. So we have to be careful to make sure that we can be safe. Now, you could call out to him from across the road and say, are you okay? Do you need help? But you don't rush across the street to go help someone, right?
I'm so glad. I'm so glad that all the girls are saying no, it's not safe to go. That they knew it was not safe to go into the street, even though I was like, I don't know, it looks safe. There's no fire or water.
Right. Now, what about this situation? This is a grassy field, and you see a kid who's fallen off their bike and might need some help. So take a look at this one. This is just, they're in a field, there's nobody else around, there's no cars, nothing else, and this kid has just been riding through the field and fell off their bike. This might be a situation where you could probably help. You could go and walk up to a kid and say, hey, is there something I can do to help you? It's not the street, I promise. There's a little lag, but this is just a grassy field, no cars around.
I see a few girls are commenting, yes, that this one is safe to help with. Emma says yes. Looks like Sadie says yes. Jenny says yes. So we're getting some, yeah, now they're starting to come in. Molly says yes.
Always the tiny lag, right? So you have to size it up. That's check, right? The first thing you need to do. Then the second thing you're going to think about is call. And when we're talking about calling, what are we talking about calling? It's going to be calling 911. But you have to figure out whether it's a good idea to call 911 or not. And there are going to be some times when we should be calling 911 and some where maybe we shouldn't. And I may just work through with Miss Rebecca on this one because I think it might be a little hard with the lag to for everybody to type in the different scenarios. So see what you think, Miss Rebecca. So what
we've already determined that I'm not a good, I'm not good at this game.
That's okay. I'll let you know if you've got the wrong answer, I promise. So okay. What if someone falls unconscious and you can't wake them up? Is that a time where you might call 911?
Yes.
That's going to be a time where you might call 911. Say it's your mom or dad or grandparent, you might call 911. And what if somebody says, go ahead.
Well, there was a question that came in earlier from someone that said, but what if you are somewhere that you don't have access to a phone?
Right. That is really tough. And sometimes that's going to be a hard decision, but most of the time, the best care that you can give to someone who is really injured or sick is going to be to get help so that someone can come and help them, because there's a limit to what we can do just out in the community if we don't have the equipment and we can't take them somewhere. So if you're by yourself with a grown-up who gets injured or is having another problem, then the biggest thing you can do is to get help for sure. And that may be going somewhere to call 911. Otherwise, it's hard. You may not have what you need to be able to take care of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but always good too if you're going to be in a situation like that where you don't have, where you're not going to have a phone or access, to a signal, to maybe buddy up to have 3 people so that one can go get help and one can stay there with the injured person.
Yeah, absolutely. So having more people, especially the farther you are away from everyone else, is really important for sure. Someone can get help, someone can stay with the injured person. Absolutely, that's a great system to have. So what if somebody who is having chest pain and it's like the worst pain they've ever had? Is that a time when you might want to call 911?
I would say probably yes.
Yeah, that definitely, because sometimes that could mean that they have something serious like a heart attack. And so rather than trying to figure it out yourself, that's where you'd want to call 911 to get someone who is able to help them and take them to the hospital if they need it, for sure.
Great. It's good to see that everybody is still playing along and they're saying for every scenario you present, call 911, call 911.
There we go. So what if you scrape your knee while you're riding your bike? Should you call 911?
No, I would say that that's probably something that you should look for an adult who can help you with without calling 911.
Right. So most of the time when we scrape our knee, it might be just kind of a small scrape or cut, and it's something that you might be able to take care of yourself with your first aid kit if it's tiny, and we'll talk about that. Or you might be able to get a grown-up, but usually you wouldn't need to call 911 unless you were really hurt. What about if your neighbor's house is on fire? Would you call 911?
Definitely.
Definitely. Okay, that one's easy. Definitely. What if your friend said, hey, wouldn't it be fun to call 911? And your friend is not injured and nobody is injured and nobody is sick, but wouldn't it be fun to call 911? What would you do?
I would say that's a definite no.
Definite no, right? So think about the 911 operators. Their job is to keep people safe, and they can only do that if they're talking to people who have an actual injury or problem or concern. So don't ever hesitate to call 911 when someone is injured or sick and you're not sure what to do, but never do it because a friend dared you to do it because it would be funny. It's unfortunately not funny, and it ties up the lines so that other people who are sick and injured can't get through. So make sure you never, ever call 911 just on a dare.
That's
Okay.
also a big part of our Girl Scout law with respecting authority, that 911 dispatchers are an authority, and we have to respect the fact that they have a job to do. So it's not responsible for us to take 911 for granted, even if it seems like it would be kind of harmless. Just, let's just call and hang up. It's taking away part of that resource that's available, that would be available to someone who really needs it.
That's exactly right. What if you smell smoke and no one is around?
This is another one of those trick questions, isn't it?
Only a little bit.
Because in my house, with our toaster, you might smell smoke pretty often. I don't know. Is that an appropriate time to call 911?
Probably not with the toaster, but usually if you're using a toaster, there's going to be an adult or a parent around who's going to be able to help you figure it out. But what if you're old enough to be home alone and you smell smoke and you don't know where it's coming from and you don't know what happened? What should you do then?
I guess it's better to be safe than sorry. And I would guess to go ahead and call 911.
Yeah, and you may want to get out of your house first and go to a neighbor's house and call 911 from there. So making sure, now it's complicated, right? So always you want to ask a grown-up. Sometimes you might smell smoke because a neighbor has their fireplace going and it's winter time and folks are, burning things from the fireplace or whatever. But if you smell smoke and you think it's in your house and you can't figure out where it's coming from and you know that it's not your toaster or something that you did, it's always better to be safe and to get out of your house, go to a neighbor, call 911 if you're not sure what's going on. Nobody minds people being extra careful, right? You need to be careful with your safety. What if you have a cold and you're sneezing? Should you call 911?
Don't call 911.
That's where lots of warm liquids and taking care of yourself and taking easy is the way to go, but you don't need to call 911 for a cold, for sure. What if you and your sibling are fighting? I'm sure that never happens to any of our Girl Scouts.
No, don't call 911.
Don't call 911. There we go. Okay, so those are just some examples. If you're ever worried that somebody is in danger or somebody is seriously injured or sick, especially if there's no other grown-ups around that can help you figure out what to do, it is okay to call 911. If someone's unconscious and you can't wake them up, it's definitely okay to call 911. If you're worried about something, make sure that you do that check first. And that it's safe for you to be there. And if it's not, then you need to get away from the situation, just like that burning house picture I showed at the beginning. But call 911 when it's appropriate. So then the question is, you've called 911, what do you need to talk to them about? What are they going to ask you? What do you need to be prepared to tell them? So Ms. Rebecca, can you think of one thing that the 911 operator might ask you? And people can type that into the comments as well.
Yeah, girls, go ahead and think about the things that you would that you think the 911 operator would need to know. I know that just because I've seen on TV that when you call, they say 911, what is your emergency? So they're asking you the most important question first, right?
Right, because they don't know how long you're going to have to talk to them. Sometimes people in a true emergency may not be able to tell them very much, may not have time to spend on the phone. So that's usually the first kind of question that they're going to want the answer to. Basically, what's going on? What happened? And so you'll want to tell them that as quickly as possible. So you can say, you know, my grandmother's having chest pain, or my neighbor's house looks like it's on fire, or whatever it is that the emergency is that you're seeing, for sure. What else do you think that they might ask you?
Well, I've seen a few girls in the chat comment that you would need to give them your address, and that you would need to tell them if you are in any danger yourself.
Right. So they would probably ask you your name. So you might want to tell them your name and where you are to the best of your ability. So if you are at home, you should make sure that you know your home address, right? So that if somebody asks you where you are and you're calling from, that you can tell them that. So make sure you know your home address and your phone number. Those are important things to know. And they'll probably ask you both of those. If you're out and about someplace, then you do your best to tell them where you are. What if you are at the mall? What if you are on a hike? You should know what trail you're on so that you can tell them where you are, right? So when you go on a hike with your family, make sure you know what trailhead you started from and what the name of the trail is. So do your best to give them an idea of what your location is, for sure.
So someone commented on phone number. Is it important that you know what your phone number is?
Yes, it's definitely important, just in general, for you to know your own phone number. What if you happen to get lost and somebody needed to call your parents? You need to know what their phone number is. Oftentimes, they have a way of being able to check what the phone number is that's being called from. And so let's say you're at somebody else's house and you don't know the number, you should use their phone to call anyway. And even if you don't know the number, they may be able to figure it out. But it helps them if, you know, say you get disconnected, for them to call you back right away. And so it's good to know the number of where you're at. And you should always know your own home phone number and your home address, just in case you got lost or somebody needed to know that information. But if you don't know and it's an emergency, you're going to call 911 anyway, and you tell them as much information as you have about where you're at. Let's say you're at church. If you don't know the phone number that you're calling from, but you know the name of the church that you're at, that can help them figure out where you are. Or if you were at school or some other place, telling them where you're at is really important.
Great. Wonderful.
Anything
and I think
else
that's
that's been coming through?
Nope, those are what I've seen. Leah just posted her phone number into the chat.
Okay. So they may also ask if it's, let's say it's a fire or it's an accident or something else, they might want to know what you know, if there are a lot of people involved, if there was just one person who's sick, they might ask about that. And also they might ask about what's already been done. So they might say, is there anybody there?
Okay.
And you could say, oh, you know, my mom is here with me and she's helping that person. And she asked me to call 911. So that gives them a sense for what, you know, what is going on and what's already been done.
Great. We have about a little over 15, maybe 20 minutes left. And I know we still need to get to making our first aid kit. So girls, if you are, we'd really love for you to make sure that you are super prepared. So in the Brownie first aid badge book, there's a list here of what you need to know when you call 911. Your name, phone number, what happened, what's wrong, where you are, how many people are hurt. That's a great thing to know too. And what, as Joanna just mentioned, what's already being done. Is there someone there performing CPR? Is there someone there who's administered first aid? Good job.
And just remember, calling them and telling them what you know, even if you don't know everything about what's going on, is more important than not calling. So as much as you know, that's what they're going to ask you about and have you tell them.
Great. Wonderful. So do we have any more on that step?
Well, that's check and call. And the next is care. So like we saw the bicyclist that had a little scrape, and that's the next part. And that's kind of goes directly into our first aid kit. So When there's something minor that you can help people with, that's part of what you can do in the care part of check, call, and care. And as you get older, you can learn more and more things that you would be able to do to help care for people until a first responder can come.
Great, wonderful. So we are now 2 steps down in the Brownie and Junior First Aid badges. We are moving right along, girls. Get it. All right. So then, as Joanna just mentioned, care, and I did see a comment. Someone just said that they were having trouble with their internet and that they've missed half this meeting. The whole thing is being recorded, and it's going to be on our Facebook page when we're done here. It's just all going to be available there, so you can kind of fast forward through or go back to the places that you've missed. We're also going to put it on our Girl Scouts of New Mexico Trails YouTube page. And we'll have plenty of opportunities for you to not only watch again or find anything you missed, but also share with other Girl Scouts who may have missed it. So this is like this is the best part, is making the first aid kit. I'm so excited. All right. So let's tell us what to do.
So we did this with our troop a couple of years ago, and I still have my daughter's first aid kit, and she has kindly allowed me to borrow it to demonstrate. And there's really, you sort of can't go wrong with a first aid kit. If you have just a few supplies, then you can go a long way in terms of taking care of a really minor injury. And so I'm going to just show you a few things that you could carry with you, even just in like a plastic bag. So let's say you were going to go on a hike or a bike ride, and you wanted to carry something in case you got a little scrape or a little cut. This is the basic stuff that you could carry with you that would fit even in a tiny plastic bag. When we go on hikes, we take a little bit more of a first aid kit just in case we have a little bit more of an injury, but I'll show you the basics and then a few more things that are in my daughter's first aid kit that she's able to carry with her when we go on a hike. So basic things that you would want to have, and I think Miss Rebecca sent out a list. So you want to have something to kind of clean things up because we want to avoid germ spreading, right? And so you would want to have some kind of wipe or towelette, and you can get those in a little single packet, or you could even have a little plastic bag that had a couple of them in that was sealed real tight so that they would stay moist. So it's good to have something you can clean up with. If you had a little bottle of hand sanitizer, you might put that in as well to be able to sanitize your hands so that they are nice and clean. You would also want to have some Band-Aids, right? And so we've got some sort of the smaller size Band-Aids that might work for like a finger or a really small cut. And then we have one of these little bit larger Band-Aids that you might be able to use if you had a little bit of a bigger cut, or sometimes when you get a scrape, like if you fell off your bike, it might be a little bit of a bigger area, like on your knee or something else. And so having maybe one little bit bigger Band-Aid. And so I'm going to put those all in our little paper bag, or little plastic bag first aid kit, and you can write first aid on that with a Sharpie. And this is really easy to put into any bag that you might carry with you. And then another thing that you might want to have is some antibiotic ointment, some cream, and that can help you. Sometimes when you're out on a hike, you might not have water and soap and everything with you to be able to clean really well. And so putting some antibiotic ointment on the cut or scrape to try to help keep it from getting icky and getting germs in it is a really good idea. And so this all together makes just a really simple first aid kit, that you can carry in a baggie with you. And so I would suggest anytime, especially if you're going on a hike or a bike ride, where you might be able to, where you might scrape something, to have something like this with you so that you can make sure that you can take care of a little cut. Now, I will say, inside my daughter's first aid kit, there are some rules, and I have no idea if these are frontwards or backwards.
They're frontwards, and we can see them great.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so we've printed this out and put it inside every girl's first aid kit. And so these are just some things to remember. So when you pop open your kit, what do you want to do with it? So it's a reminder to call 911 in an emergency, especially if you have someone who can't speak or move. For scrapes or cuts, you are going to wash it if you can. If you're someplace where you can wash it, you can use an ointment like I showed you with a parent's permission, and you're going to cover it with a Band-Aid and only take care of your own wounds. So this is for you to take care of yourself, or you could give this kit to someone else who's hiking with you so that they could take care of their own cut or scrape. You do not want to touch other people's blood. Okay.
No.
If somebody is bleeding, then you want to have them apply pressure to stop the bleeding. And so that's the biggest thing. Sometimes bleeding will just, you have a little cut, you have a little scrape, the bleeding will stop on its own. Sometimes if it's a little bit more, then you hold pressure on that spot to try to help the bleeding stop. And so you want bleeding to stop before you start bandaging everything up as much as you can. So applying pressure is an important part of doing first aid. And then if someone's fallen, you don't want to move them, and you would cover them with a blanket or coat, especially if it's cold. And then what would you do? You would call 911.
Oh, 911.
So this is my daughter Emma's first aid kit, and the first aid rules are on the inside. But again, you can just use a baggie to use some of these Band-Aids, a little antibiotic ointment, and then something to help keep things clean, and you are good to go. So I love being able to carry antibiotic ointment so that the germs don't get in. It's a good thing. In her first aid kit, there's actually some other things in here as well.
Ooh.
So this is kind of exciting. We have a pair of gloves, and this is helpful, especially if you have a grown-up along who wants to try to help take care of somebody else's injury, putting on a pair of gloves so that they're not touching someone else's blood. So I've got a pair of gloves in there. Then I have some gauze pads, and a rolled gauze. And that could be used to help take care of a little bit of a bigger cut or scrape to help with that. I have a popsicle stick, or not really one, but like one. And this could even be used to make a splint. And that's going to be part of steps 4 or 5. If you're going to do completing the badge, then that's the kind of taking care of minor injuries that you might want to learn about. And then we also have a scarf, and these just come in handy for pretty much almost anything.
Really?
So you can use this to tie back your hair. If you're going to be near a campfire and you need to keep your hair out of the way, you can use a scarf for that. Or if you had a grown-up along who needed to take care of a little more bleeding, you can use the scarf for that. You can actually use this to make a sling to try to help someone who's maybe injured their arm so that you can keep it stable. And that's, again, that's part of 4 and 5 that you'll want to be able to work on as well. But these are just some other things that you might have in a first aid kit. And it's really cool because all of this stuff, it's kind of like a magic box. I never believe how much fits in here. This actually all goes in this little plastic box that we bought at the dollar store. And it's really lightweight and easy to carry. And so that makes Emma's first aid kit. But if you want to just carry a few things with you in your backpack that you're taking with you to go hiking, where you also have water and a whistle and a hat and sunscreen and everything else that you need, you can just carry a little plastic bag with some basic supplies to help you take care of yourself if you have a little tiny injury.
And it's so easy too that we could put it in your backpack to have for school. You could have one in your parents' car. You could have one in your bedroom or in your kitchen, like to be able to just put a bunch of them together. 2 other questions that have come through, Joanna. One is about candy for blood sugar, and another is about how to stop a nosebleed.
Oh, okay, great question. So candy, if you have someone who's diabetic and their blood sugar goes low, then, and that might be if there's someone in your family or you yourself have diabetes and your blood sugar sometimes goes low, then yes, having a couple of pieces of candy or something to suck on like that is not a bad idea to have in your first aid kit. We don't have anyone in our family who's diabetic, so we don't have that in our first aid kit. But one of our family members has an allergy, and so we have an EpiPen that we carry. That's a prescription medication. So everybody's first aid kit might have something a little bit different depending on what their family members have.
Great.
And then what was the other question?
About stopping a nosebleed.
Oh, okay. Here's the simple rules. Lean forward, not backwards. Okay, forward, not backwards. And then you want to pinch your nose like this. So the top part of the nose up here, you're going to pinch it and you hold it, and it may take a while. So if you have a pretty big nosebleed, sometimes we get little nosebleeds. It doesn't take that long. It could take maybe 10 minutes. And so that is how you are holding pressure. Just like we talked about holding pressure to stop bleeding, That's where you hold pressure. So you lean forward and hold pressure for as long as it takes for the bleeding to stop.
That is
Simple,
such
and it's
good.
something that you can do yourself if you have a nosebleed and you need to.
Great. This is such good information. Girls, why don't you do me a favor? I am loving reading all of your comments as we start to wrap up a little bit. Why don't you go ahead and in the comment box, share with us one thing that you've learned today, because we are going to be, like I said, wrapping it up soon. So in the comments, just tell one thing that you learned from this time. Joanna Molly also commented that in her first aid kit, she likes to keep a pair of tweezers to get any like cactus needles or splinters out. So that's a great idea.
That is a really good idea, because we sure do have cactus and prickers and all kinds of other stuff here. So having a pair of tweezers to take out something pokey is a great idea for a first aid kit.
Wonderful. I am just so grateful to you for spending the time with us today. We actually have someone who just checked in. She's a Brownie from New York.
Yay!
So we have not only Girl Scouts from New Mexico, but we've got Girl Scouts who are tuning in and learning things and earning the Brownie or Junior First Aid badge with us from all over the country, which is so cool.
That is one of the best things about Girl Scouts. There are Girl Scouts all over the United States and all over the world. And so being in Girl Scouting means that you're a part of a community of women and girls all over the world. It's really special.
It really is special. So some of the things that girls have learned today is how to make a first aid kit. And even girls as young as some of our daisies are saying that they either have a first aid kit that they've made in Girl Scouts or now that they're going to make one. We've had, let's see, someone says not to lean your head back. That's new, and that's always a good reminder. It just seems normal to want to do this, but a couple girls have said that they learned not to let their head back. Someone commented, it's important. I think it was Lila who commented to stay calm and always be helpful. That's so true. Let's see, that you can fit a ton of stuff in a container, that small container.
Yes, you can. It's like magic.
Also very mind-blowing. Let's see, how to stop a nose from bleeding is something that someone learned. How to help people, good things to have in your first aid kit. Let's see, that nosebleed, I learned how to stop a nosebleed. So far that's been one of the most important things. Let's see, learning what to put in a first aid kit and when not to call 911. Very important. Let's see, when to call 911, how to stop a bloody nose, learned how to help people. I learned how many things you can do with a scarf. True. How to make a first aid kit, learned that there are many ways you can help people and even use a sling for different ways that you're hurt. So this is great. I mean, I've had a lot of girls participate this morning. Again, girls, if you want to keep on going, we've gotten through the first 3 steps of both the Brownie and the Junior First Aid badge. If you are interested, you can reach out to your troop leader. If you are already a Girl Scout, reach out to your troop leader about what you need to complete steps 4 and 5, which are, let's see, if you are a Brownie, learn how to treat minor injuries and know how to prevent and treat outdoor injuries are the next 2 steps. If you're a Junior, find out how to handle urgent first aid issues and know how to take care of someone who's sick. So if you want to continue on with those, you can either do that with your Girl Scout troop leader or your parent. And you can always go to our website, nmgirlscouts.org, to find more information about these badges. And then when you complete them, we can help you get them through our shop at La Tienda. So lots of great information. Again, Dr. Joanna Fair, troop leader, and just fantastic mom and member of the community. Thank you again so much for your time. This has been so fun.
Thank you. This is the most fun thing I've done all week. I'm glad I could be here.
All right. So now comes the awkward part of me trying to figure out how to end the Facebook Live broadcast. But thank you, girls. Everybody have a great day. Again, go to nmgirlscouts.org. We've got camps going on. If this was fun for you and you want to do more interactive activities, our Camp Reimagined is going on. Your parents can register for you. They should have gotten an email today. If you're not a Girl Scout yet, you can always go to girlscouts.org and find a troop near you and get signed up for it. We'll just keep on doing fun stuff to help girls continue their Girl Scout leadership journey while here at home, because you shouldn't have to stop learning just because you can't go to a troop meeting, right?
That's
All
right.
right. Well, Dr. Fair, again, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and stop the live stream, and bye.